welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on this classic wooden motor cruiser here in Victoria, British Columbia, along with the loving memory of my pup, Geordie. Geordie pup. All the while doing some pretty significant work to it to try and get it ready for some pretty significant cruising. If that's the sort of thing you might find interesting, please consider sticking around and subscribing. Don't forget to ring the bell. And believe it or not, we're going to do a little woodwork this week. Yes, we are. Well, you can imagine if you've been following along, the last couple of weeks have been getting the Baden Marine installed into the village, and it is. Now, obviously, there is some prep stuff I have to do before I can start it. One of the main things I'm waiting for is new instrument gauges, which will go at the helm here, which have a rather long pre-order cycle, about 6 weeks. So this should be here in a couple of weeks. Obviously, there's exhaust, there's fuel system, there's electrical system, there's lots to do. There's also prep work to get ready for that because the helm isn't really ready to even put the instruments in. Some of you will remember the helm cabinet is off right now. I mean, I built and it's off right now. And there's just a few other bits of woodwork I want to do before we jump right into all that stuff. One thing I want to do for sure is cover up these nasty bulkheads with some actual Sapele mahogany veneered little thin ply. Get that done. I have some plywood, some Sapele plywood. I have some Sapele hardwood mahogany. And the other thing I want to do is build the companionway steps back here. I've spent a couple of months now jumping up and down through that hole, and I'd really rather not do that much longer. So we're going to build those steps this week. The other thing is, many people have asked, when am I going to cut up the sole into individual panels, and doing that this week too. So let's get to it. Long-time viewers will recognize the Rubbermaid Tote Workshop, and well, we're bringing it back for another season. So this is Sapele mahogany cabinet grade veneered ply. So it's quite a nice veneer of Sapele mahogany on the outside, an unknown core that at least isn't MDF, and an unknown looks like maybe birch or something or other on the back. Now this is not marine ply, but it's cabinet grade, it's pretty good, and I'm using it in places I used to use door skin. Yes, I did. For instance, those panels there are simply just crappy door skin, and I'm telling you, the glue in door skin is so bad. The slightest moisture, I mean, if you breathe on it, it starts to delaminate and fall apart. So over time, I will be replacing all the places I used door skin to create veneer with actual Sapele mahogany. So, okay, anyway, let's just get this down and ready to cut. Alright, so a little notch trim at the far side here. I'm basically just going to scribe this to fit. So what that means is I'm just going to bring it up far enough that this edge is lined up with that, and down a little bit because I just want to take off the minimum amount and square that up with that, and then just scribe this against here. Alright, and so that curve is this curve, which is the same as this curve in an ideal world. Okay. Beauty! Okay, normally I would affix this with tiny little stainless steel 23 gauge pins out of my air nailer, but I can't find them right now, so that's no problem. So I'm just going to put through a few teeny tiny little screws to keep it from falling in the meantime, you know. There we go. That'll hold that until I can find my pins. Okay, other side. Alright, so the side still has the steering assembly attached, so I'll pull that off first, and we'll get that piece of door skin off and replace it with something a little more realistic. I love this thing. And off comes this sad piece of door skin, which actually you can see has had some water damage because I've had some water leaks up here at the windscreen. And I'll begin by removing the stainless steel pins from the previous installation. Beauty! And if you've been watching the show for any length of time, you know the next step is tung oil. This is Lee Valley, which is a Canadian mail order tool supply and hardware supply place, and they do quite a nice tung oil. The only thing is it's not cheap. But anyway, it's good stuff. Okay then, well, this will set up relatively quickly because it's the good stuff, and I'll be able to get some of my next finish on there, which I want to do because on the other side I want to put the helm back together, like soon, like tomorrow. Okay, let's get down to business with this companionway stair thing. I can't tell you how much time I've spent thinking about this. And one of the main things that's been on my mind about it is that should it have storage in it? Like any small, tiny house, sort of the classic Pinterest under stair storage is pretty much a requirement, isn't it? And well, storage on any boat is very valuable, so I always thought I would have each step lift up for a little bit of storage underneath. I don't know, wine cellar type of thing. Anyway, but it's a lot of work for a relatively small amount of storage. But I think it's worth doing anyway. Okay, so if we sort of review what's going on here, if you watch me build the sole, you see I've created structure around. This part of the sole is already set back the 3/4 inch I want. I have to cut the two side pieces back 3/4 now that I fully designed this. I've also removed a small section of this piece of engine bed using that same slice and dice technique because of course I'm going to put some cross timbers down here that will support the box that is basically going to make up the companionway steps. So basically it is just going to be a box. 1, 2, 3 sides and a bottom with 3 steps in it. The top step will actually be flush with the sole, so there's really only there's 3 risers but 2 steps in here. Okay, and all 3 of those will lift up, and there's some complications about that we'll get to in a bit. Now I want the entire step assembly to be able to lift out very quickly and easily to provide access to things down here, because over here will be the hot water heater, right here is going to be the shower and sink gray water pump system, and right here is probably going to be a gray water tank. So I do want to have access to all of this relatively easily. Okay, I do have a bit of a drawing, but it's really just sort of some geometry, so it's just time to start cutting. And to reduce the likelihood of tear out, we'll cut from the bottom. Now through the course of the building of the sole, a lot of people commented on the fact that I didn't put any finish on the bottom of this panel, and that I didn't actually put any on the edge. I'd always intended to put some on the edge eventually, but I think I actually will put some on the bottom. Enough people have shown me that that would be a good idea. So as I redo all the panels here in time, I will pull them all up, get them good and dry, make sure that there's no moisture in them, and finish the bottoms as well. So I just sand that up a bit so that we don't have any nicks. Okay, so now that I have a uniform lip all the way around, I can start to build the box. There's going to be a future complication right here because this particular piece of wood is dead center on the boat, and the upper helm is going to send its control cables down through a brass tube right here eventually, and right through the sole right here. So some stuff is going to happen here, so I have to be able to make sure that I'm inside that far enough. So actually I'm going to be 2 layers of plywood in from here, just to be sure, and and the same on the other side to make it uniform. There we go. And until I cut the beds down at haul out, this will be the level of the support for it, just 1.5 inches, and it'll be another 3/4 or so when I'm at haul out. So I'm just going to throw some quick screws in here, and I have a base to start to build on. Now, of course, this structure will be far more elegant once the engine beds are cut down, and they'll probably be something significantly stronger, seeing as they're cantilevered over on this side. And we're back in full tote workshop mode. Okay. Okay. I'm still amazed that I can swing a full sheet of plywood around inside this boat. Can you folks see the strange color sawdust? Just a nick. I'm going to put it together just dry at first to do a test fit, and with screws and countersinks, and if it fits perfectly, I just open the screws a little bit and get some glue in and clean. You'll see. Okay, let me think. All right, we have a loosely assembled box. Ouch. That now I can see if it fits, shall we? All right, keeping in mind that there's an extra 1/2 inch at the sides that has to go on. Down, and on. Excellent. But that is perfect. Awesome. Okay, gonna let this dry overnight. I just gotta say, wow, we have a fantastic, gorgeous, beautiful day here today in Victoria for me to carry on with this project. It's just so nice. I want to go for a walk, but we're hard at work. We got the saw back out again, and I got some mahogany out, and we're gonna make the actual steps. Now, there's a bit to it, and I've spent quite a bit of time, a little bit of that analysis paralysis hit me yesterday, modifying the design slightly, but I'm just gonna run with it, and it'll basically develop over the next few minutes for you. Now, I only have one board wide enough to make the treads out of, and it's in pretty good shape. I think out of this end I'll get the 3 steps I need, and in fact this is wider than I need. Never mind, let me just cut some wood. Gravity, children. Watch out. This saw needs some attention. That's a lot more burning than I'm used to. Okay, the reason I went right to ripping up the steps is because I needed this scrap material here, because this is going to be used to rip down to create the shims that are going to lock the box in place, roughly 5/8 or so. Okay, I have ripped down, albeit with a bit of burning on here, 3 pieces to roughly 5/8, and I've also put a chamfer on the bottom edge of that so that when this sits against here and I drop the steps into place, they will sort of wedge themselves in. At least that's the plan. Anyway, so now I just have to affix these onto the edge of here and glue them on. And I'm going to do that with one of my favorite products. And that is more beautiful polyurethane adhesives. PL. Everyone's familiar with PL. It's a construction adhesive. It's a polyurethane, goopy, sticky stuff. And you know, it was always good. But by the time they came up with this Max for... Oh, okay. This is awesome stuff. It's too bad I don't have an awesome caulking gun. I can't find my decent gun. This is 99¢. Anyway, let's get going. Okay. Countersinking them fairly deeply in case I have to trim this a little bit and I don't want to nick the heads. The reason I'm putting an awful lot of screws and a lot of glue on here is because I'm about to put another piece of mahogany across the top here, sort of like a cap piece or a covering board, you might say. And it's the transition piece between the blocks that is going to build the stairs and the rest of the sole. And it's going to lip over that 3/4 inch gap that we created before. And I want it to be seriously robust. So lots of screws, lots of glue. Should be okay. Okay, if you've been really shrewd, you'll have noticed that by putting a chamfer on here and a chamfer on there, well, at the corner here, the chamfer doesn't work and you end up with a section that isn't chamfered. Well, that's easily dealt with some aggressive sandpaper. Beauty. And how about just a little bit of a round over? Kind of a pain with these wires here, but let's see if that just drops right in. Now, of course, there's flex at the end here because there's nothing to give this support, but the rest of it, absolutely beautifully snug. Very nice. Okay, let's make the covering boards. Okay, so the first miter is always easy. It's the subsequent ones that are a little more complicated. Okay, so let's take this down and mark it for the next one. Okay, now the side pieces, and it's gonna go right to there. Okay, does that just drop it? Yes, it does. Let's do the other side. Okay, how about now? Beauty! Okay, so let's get this set up. Okay, so I'm going to set this up in advance for some screw holes. So we're going to go at 1 1/4 and run right through here. Okay, so what do we get here for screws roughly? Oh, very close to every 6 inches, about there, there, there. Good, that lines up nicely. Okay, so let's get some glue on here. Okay. So I'm just going to drop the other 2 pieces in to make sure that I have reasonable alignment. You know, that's why I often don't use a screw gun, because the impact on it is a little hard on stainless screws, and yeah, okay. All right, so I'll be super careful. I think I'll finish that by hand. Okay, here I'm also going to glue the faces together. Excellent. Now I'm going to have to pull that flush. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it, but I'll find a way. Okay, awesome. Okay. Okay. Well, I certainly can't complain about this as a shop for cutting plugs. Let's put them in. Well, I'm going to call that it for today and effectively for this episode. I wanted to get more done, but I did run out of time. Not to worry, I'll be carrying on moments after I turn the camera off with next week's work. Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Let this meeting come to order. Doesn't this make a great lectern? I'm telling you, it's just perfect. And on that, don't run away just yet, even though the Beer of the Week is coming. I want to talk to you about the Classic Yacht Association, the rather famous burgee that you see here and there. I recently had the honor of being asked to be their keynote speaker for their annual general meeting. And it reintroduced me to the association that I've always known about and always really admired. It was formed in 1969 by a group of folks that wanted to promote and preserve classic wooden motor yachts. And they've done a fabulous job of it. And it's a huge organization now, spread mostly through the Western US and Canada. They have various fleets. Anyway, it's an association, like there's an association for every enthusiast for classic wooden motor yachts. And I'm a member, and I'm so grateful to be a member because it has all kinds of great resources, one of which is their quarterly newsletter. Check out the charming guy on the cover of the last one. Anyway, it's full of information, full of great people. It's a wonderful resource for research and other people's experiences with working with and living with wooden boats. So if you have any interest in wooden boats at all, and I assume you do, you don't need a boat to join. So have a look, just Google it. I can't remember the website offhand, but you'll find it easily. It is the Classic Yacht Association, and if you become a member, you get the burgee. Okay, let's move on. It is now Beer of the Week. So, we're gonna jump right into, okay, this is, I don't know if it's embarrassing or not, but because I had such a bad experience with that coffee flavored beer the other day, I'm trying again from a brewery I know and love. This is Tofino Brewery from here on Vancouver Island, and it's their coffee porter. So I would have thought This would be horrible, except I think it's only fair for me to try a few more before I paint all of these beverages with the same brush. So let's see. So have you all run out and got your CYA memberships yet? Okay, I'm looking forward to this regardless, actually, because it's been a long day and dusty, and I really am looking forward to a beer. Cheers. Coffee porter from Tofino Brewery. Now that's okay. I'm not going to say, look, I have a little coaster here. I'm not going to say it's exceptional, but it's definitely drinkable, and I'm going to finish it and enjoy it. It's coffee without being candy-like. It's just, it's growing on me. It's actually pretty good. Okay. We don't have much business to get through, but let's jump right in. Last week's winner of a Travels with Geordie t-shirt was Murray Scott. So Murray, get a hold of me and we'll make sure we get you your t-shirt. 2 new Patreons last week. Thank you ever so much. Gosh, it means a lot to me. It's Dwayne Lehman and Matt Coleman. Cheers to you both, and thank you ever so much. I'm liking this lectern. Awesome. Now, last time off the Amazon wish list, you'll note that the beautiful Raycor filter didn't come with an identifier of who sent it, and the culprit fessed up. It's Robert K. Thank you ever so much, Robert. And for those of you, thanks, Robert, remember the name. He has been very generous to all of us. The GoPro you're watching me on right now was also a gift from him. So thanks again, Robert. Okay, working on, we can move on past all my scribbles to the word of the week. So if you'd like to win a Travels with Geordie t-shirt, simply use the word classic. Yep, that's what came to me. In a comment down below, and I'll pick at random from the first week worth of comments, and if I pick you, you win a Travels with Geordie t-shirt. Cheers, see you next week. It's quite civilized.